Montrealers head to the polls November 2nd to elect the city's next mayor. I'm here with Soraya Martinez Ferrada, leader of Ensemble Montréal and mayoral hopeful. Ms. Martinez Ferrada, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's start off. We're looking at the polls right now. Ensemble Montréal is in the lead, yet the majority are still undecided in Montreal. So how do you plan to keep that momentum going through to election day, but also turn those undecided voters in your favor?
Well, I have a great team on the ground, and we do door-to-doors, call. I do also door-to-door, and I think having, media talking about our program and who we are, I think helps, of course. But I'm very confident about getting the time to talk to many Montrealers as I can.
So just kind of looking at your background, you're coming from a political federal background, and how do you think you would try to rebuild trust maybe with Montrealers who feel that perhaps the institutions you worked with, like the Trudeau government, did not serve them well?
Well, I mean, we can have a long conversation of my past in the federal government, but I don't think it's your question today. What I feel is that Montreal needs to have confidence again, to be able to have ambition again. And to do that, we need to serve on the basis essential needs of the city, which is tackle the housing crisis, tackle the homelessness, security, cleanness of the city, have a mobility that is fluid and secure, and of course have a city that works and it's agile, and that we can have the maneuver in terms of our finance to tackle the big ambitions that we want to have for this city.
So just pushing back a little bit on, your background, but something you've spoken a lot about during this election campaign is the importance of having partnership with both Ottawa and Quebec. So how do you think that kind of partnership for the city could help make the city thrive?
Well, I think it's to show that we own our responsibility in order to tackle the issues that we have in the city, and show the government of Quebec and federal that we're doing our part, and showing to them that we can do differently, innovate in terms of planning the city better, in terms of our own finances, and of course in terms of the housing crisis. How can we partner with the nonprofit, with the private sector and governments to tackle the issue more quickly and accelerate construction of housing? And I think that's the way that we should be addressing the way that we want to work in partnership with Quebec and the federal government.
One of the big issues for Montrealers when it comes to this election is the economic development of the city. We've spoken to a lot of businesses downtown especially who feel that they're suffering. They have a lack of support by the city, a lot of red tape they often have to cut through. So how are you going to help revitalize the downtown core and help support these merchants? So we need to tackle the issue of the attractiveness of the downtown core. And for that, again, security, cleanness, tackling homelessness and the crisis on the street that we see in downtown, to make it attractive again, but also have a city that will tackle the bureaucracy, but to your point, around how we make it easier. I'll give you an example. If I'm mayor of Montreal, I'm mayor of downtown core, and I said that I wanted to give free permits for terraces, and making sure that it would be easy for terraces to be built in downtown, for the restaurateur, the food sector, to thrive again in downtown. And I think that's an example. So I think we can think about a lot of things that we can partner with the commercial association downtown to make the city and the downtown core more attractive again. You speak here about cleanliness, and it's also something you've spoken a lot about during your campaign. There's a lot of people that fear we might be right behind Toronto or Vancouver when it comes to cleanliness in the city. How do you plan to tackle that if you're elected mayor?
So we need to, again, partner with local associations, commercial associations. We've put some money down in terms of working on getting all the areas that are empty, stores that are empty, to make them look good. So it's a beautiful street and people feel that they can go there and it's clean. Tackling the issue of cleanliness goes through having a specialized brigade to work on cleanliness with associations, and I think we can do better in terms of picking up the garbage, just simply.
Another big issue, which has been, I'm pretty sure, your top priority, the homelessness crisis that we're seeing in this city. How are you going to address that, when shelters say that they're overflowing, they're lacking funding, and we're seeing growing encampments all across the city itself?
So I've made my first priority homelessness issue. I think we need to tackle a few things. First of all, making sure that nobody else gets on the streets, so preventing people to losing their homes, losing the unit of home or rental units. We need to make sure that we're working with the nonprofit to do that in terms of prevention. To the urgency refugees that you're talking about, we need to make sure that we're addressing the issue of the overflow. So that's why we need to have more other ones in the rest of the city, having collectively supporting the need of emergency refuge, but smaller ones, because if there's too big, it's difficult, the cohesion with their neighborhoods. So we need to make sure that we're supporting the needs everywhere, but in the smaller spaces, and tackling the encampments. If we dismantle them, they go somewhere else. So we need time to tackle the encampments, have a protocol where in the meantime that we construct transition homes, we tackle the cleanness of the encampments and the cohabitation with neighborhoods right now that are just struggling with the fact that it's very difficult cohabitate with a social crisis that we have in our hands.
Another issue that people want tackled is the housing crisis in Montreal. You know, there's a lack of space, there's a lack of affordable housing, and as a result, a lot of people are looking elsewhere to leave the city because they just simply can't stay here. How do you plan to tackle that?
So I think with the homelessness is the other most important crisis that we have. We lost over 300,000 people to the city in the past 8 years. We might lose another 200,000 people. So we need to stop the exodus of our families and our young kids, our grandparents and parents. Tackling construction will be a new way to do it. We need to finance the way that we construct in Montreal to lower the cost of construction, accelerate the permits, partner with the private sector and a non-profit in order to build social and affordable housing that we need, but also help citizens, like we announced today, to be able to construct units in their own property, to be able to address the fact that their kids need to be in a space but not in your space, right? And grandparents, so the intergenerational aspect of keeping families together. So we announced densification through the units of family homes that we can do in Montreal. So I think we need to think differently. How are we going to construct and incentivize more and more construction to be able to stop constructors to go somewhere else? Because right now we have a lack of construction in Montreal that is very concerning.
Just touching now on mobility and our transit system, that is a big issue, and you know, candidates have spoken about removing bike paths or increasing a better bus network, but we've seen STM breakdowns, REM breakdowns, strikes, people stuck in their cars for hours on end instead of spending time with their loved ones or at the destination they're so desperately trying to get to. How are you going to fix our transit system?
So we have to address it in a way of mobility. The whole mobility and fluidity in a way that is secure. But that means what? That means moving in a bike, moving in a car, moving as a pedestrian, moving in traffic, moving in transportation. So all of that is the mobility of the city. So we need to do better planning on construction sites, making sure that when you address planning of a construction, you understand the impact on the fluidity that it has on your city. So we have to better plan the sequence of our construction sites. We have to make sure that we are addressing the fact that east and west, especially outside the downtown core of Montreal, we need more public transportation more efficiently, and we need to work with governments like Quebec and Ottawa to make that happen. We need to make sure that we're cohabitating and we're sharing the space between bicycle path and merchants and citizens to make sure that everybody's been considered when we are addressing the space that we share all together. So it has to be a way of looking into the whole perspective of mobility in a very large way, not only polarizing the conversation around cars and bikes.
Lastly, Ms. Martinez Ferrada, what do you think makes you the right person to lead Montreal for the next 4 years?
I think I have a team. I brought people, Montrealers, that for the first time decided to leave behind their own jobs, like Claude Pinard with Centraide, with Lorraine Pintal, Geneviève Deshôtels, Thierry Darès. I mean, we have a lot of people that decided for the first time to serve. So I don't come as a mayor, I come as a mayor with a team ready to serve Montrealers and do better for the city, because Montreal deserves better.
Ms. Martinez Ferrada, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.